Liberation greetings to all and sundry. My dear people of southern Cameroons, my dear people of Ambazonia, fellow brave warriors of our liberation movement, accept liberation's greeting for me today. And I hope that I'm meeting everybody this Sunday in very good shape, although I know that we are still locked in a very serious conflict with La République du Cameroon as we put in efforts to kick them out of our territory. My people, today is Sunday, September 25, 2022. I know it's been a while since I was last on this platform, since we had the opportunity to share together. That was since September 8th. Apologize that I've really gone through a serious or difficult moment with some health challenges. But thank God I'm back here and we can pick up from where we left. We must continue this campaign of educating and mobilizing our people towards our only objective, which is ensuring that we deliver a free a free Ambazonia to all the people of Ambazonia, of the southern Cameroons, that we meet the aspirations of southern Cameroonians, both born and yet to be born, for generations upon generations to come. So, my people, this Sunday I'm here and I want to begin by once more extending my heartfelt sympathy with Comrade Chris Anu for the passing into glory of his wife. I know it's a very difficult moment for Mr. Anu and his entire family. I just want to let you know that we are one with you in spirit and pray that God will give the strength to you and your family to, better manage and overcome this very challenging moment. So we are one in spirit, comrade. And also, I want to extend hearty congratulations and wonderful regards to our self defense volunteers who have been doing a very great job. Our brave hearts are working very hard by day and by night to deny La République du Cameroon an opportunity, its plan, its ambition to keep our people captive forever. I learned that they passed through a wing just a while ago as I was about to begin this broadcast, and that their passage through a wing has sent a strong message to our Konolinga. And so, my people of the southern Cameroons, we must continue to bond together. These are trying moments, very trying moments. And so, therefore, we have to continue to be strong, to motivate, mobilize, and inspire each other so that none of us will lag behind, because it will require the concerted efforts of all Ambazonians, all southern Cameroonians who believe in our quest for freedom to get what we want, to attain our objective. I know that we are all aware that when we engaged in this, we knew it was not going to be a walk in the park. And therefore, by day and by night, we must continue to put in the requisite energy to get to the other side. When I say to get to the other side, I mean to cross the finish line, so that we will scream in Boya that we are free, and free at last, we are free. So, my people, on this platform today, our discussion is going to be centered on three very important things. The first and most important is going to be where we go from here after the crash of the Swiss-led initiative meant to bring mediation or a mediation effort between La République du Cameroon and the people of Ambazonia. We will be looking at exactly the maths before us and what we need to do to get to where we had always planned to get to. And then there is this incident in Mamfe. I think it happened specifically in Chang village, where the St. Joseph's Catholic mission there was touched, and I could hear the bishop of the area laying the blame on Ambazonians. But at the same time, I could hear a young lady who was standing by telling that bishop to his face that what you are seeing that happened here was not done by people from here. This was in response to accusations that there were Catholic Christians suddenly turned Ambazonians, or whatever name you want to call them, that carried out that arson. Truth be told, my people, that there's a lot that will demonstrate clearly the opposite. So we will also have to talk about that on this program. And of course, don't forget ever that it has come to pass that La République du Cameroon is facing its Armageddon. This had long been prophesied that it was going to happen, that the ministry of fire would take control of La République du Cameroon, the same fire that they have been struggling to visit on our people and have visited that on over 400 village communities in Ambazonia. Today, they are facing it eyeball to eyeball. So for the first time, the Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, who has since 2017 done everything possible to keep sealed lips on the situation of the Southern Cameroons, has started talking. Only on this platform would you get that. So my people, let's have a very short break and don't go away. I sure hope you did enjoy it as I did. I call those amber rhythms. And so from time to time, we'll have to share that here. That is where we come from. That is our culture. And so we must continue to be very proud of our culture. And so, my people, it has come to pass that, before I get on to this, a quick reminder. If you are just joining in, if you have just tuned in, please share and share and share as much as you can, so that as many Ambazonians, many Southern Cameroonians, and many sympathizers of our cause as possible do share in our education and mobilization campaign. You know, La République du Cameroon has for a while now, been pumping in a lot of money to the high-tech companies to make nonsense of platforms like this one. And they've been on this platform for a while now. Too often, all they need to do is deactivate your personalization settings and make it impossible for you to get alerts when I'm doing a live broadcast on this channel. And so therefore, always when you when you don't get anything coming from me, go to YouTube, get into this page. When you log into this page, look at the area where you have the subscribe button. Just by it, there's a bell. Click on that bell and you click on personalized. And when you click on that, you will see, it will indicate to you that you will receive alerts. That's all they do. Simply deactivate that. So as many times as you continue to activate, you will continue to have alerts. And there are a lot of our people who don't know about this. So therefore, by sharing and sharing and sharing as much as possible, you will make it possible for us to attain the widest audience possible, so that this message will get a far-reaching effect on our people as we continue to mobilize ourselves to send La République du Cameroon out of our territory. So you are welcome to this live broadcast. And so let's straight away move to La République du Cameroon, where the Ministry of Fire is taking root. Just watch. What you are seeing here, the structure that you are seeing here, is the Cameroon Ministry of External Relations. This building is in Yaounde, in the heart of Yaounde. It is next to the National Broadcasting House, that's the CRTV National Radio Station. And so this building, as you can see, therefore, has been on fire for a while. They can't even get firefighters to the scene, and a lot of the structures in the building are already being consumed. My people, this building is heavily guarded in Yaounde, because that is the headquarters of Cameroon's diplomacy, where they sit to plan, to put together a strategy to spread lies across the world, to spread manipulations across the world as to what is happening in the southern Cameroon. So you see, therefore, that ministry, the building of the Ministry of External Relations, is on fire. And now, that is not the only structure in La République du Cameroon that has had to go through the baptism of fire. The same fire that La République du Cameroon's talks have been visiting on our people in Ambazonia. Don't forget that this has been prophesied, that a time will come when the ministry of fire will be Yaounde's daily reality. I know this fire comes just a few days after another one, this one, in Lokbaba, in Yaounde. This is one of the AES power plants, a thermal plant in Lokbaba. They call it La Centrale Thermique, the Lokbaba. It was also on fire. And that's why until this moment that I'm talking to you, there are major areas in the city of Douala in La République du Cameroon that are still in darkness because of this. You don't want to know exactly what effect this has on the economy of La République du Cameroon, because each time you get this, try to settle down and calculate exactly in financial terms what the losses are for a country like La République du Cameroon that is heavily indebted and poor. Let me take another angle of this nation in Lokbaba. You can see it for yourself. Listen, my people, La République du Cameroon, they've not seen anything just yet, because the mantra is clear, the language is clear. Get out of the territory of the southern Cameroons. La République du Cameroon will not hear. And so that is why you have this daily occurrence right now going on right there, because this has to be a form of punishment. We know that the Almighty God did the same thing to King Pharaoh on Egypt when he refused to let the children of Israel proceed to the promised land. And so, talking figures, look at this. You see here they say Sonara, a debt of 185 billion rescheduled over 10 years. Of course, inside there, they're talking about a Swiss company, a Swiss concern that is involved with this. And it is called let me try to get a name of that Swiss structure, which is concerned here. It is called, that name could disappear. Okay, Vital SA. That is Swiss. Vital SA is a Swiss-based concern that has heavy stakes in Sonara in terms of finances. But what this document seeks to highlight is that since the fire engulfed Sonara, the losses were over 1,000 billion CFA. This document should be circulated, and I'll make sure it circulates further so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. And so, therefore, they're struggling to reschedule the debts because that has affected the economy of the country tremendously, to a point they believe that if something is not done to rescue Sonara, the economy itself is likely to suffocate because of the effect that Sonara has also on the banking sector, because a lot of the companies or of the banks, the commercial banks in La République du Cameroon, have had stakes in Sonara one way or the other. And so they are continuing to sweat under the weight of all this. So each of these fire incidents, just calculate and see exactly what it does. You see, the level of inflation in that country has reached vexing levels, but they won't talk about it. That's why today, a liter of palm oil that yesterday sold for 450, 500 francs is well over 1,200 CFA francs as we speak. Those are just clear signs, my people of Ambazonia, that by day and by night, we are making the cost of occupation very, very, very serious. So while all this is going on, the next thing that is happening is the people in Yaounde are chewing their teeth with the appointment, effective appointment, of a 4-star general by Emmanuel Macron to be the new ambassador of France in Yaounde. And besides the speculation going on and everything, one thing is certain, that the French are increasingly worried about the situation in Cameroon, and the French are already looking past Mr. Paul Biya. So the French are already beginning to do the math. What is going to happen after Paul Biya? Are we going to be able to keep the southern Cameroons in our column after Paul Biya? Because they are asking themselves, will it be a peaceful transition, or is going to be really, really torturous? So therefore, to prepare for anything that could happen, France therefore appointed this military general effectively to take over from Guilou in Yaounde as the new French ambassador to La République du Cameroon. Note therefore that he has his eyes on the situation in the southern Cameroons. But most importantly, the role of this French ambassador is to make sure that the will of the people of La République du Cameroon shall never prevail in selecting the new leader for that country, because they are looking past Biya, as I said already. So is he coming there, therefore, to work to install France? And you see this kind of books coming out persistently by the Betty people. You see, this is written by Timothée Ekodo, and the title is Franck Biya, le prodige de l'émergence et des nouveaux défis du Cameroun. Essay. So this will be appearing soon. Now, these people are really trying as much as they can to sell Franck Biya, that it is only with Franck Biya that that country can be able to attain emergence. And therefore, there are things like this that show a kind of provocation to people from other parts of that country, and therefore they know that is definitely not going to happen just like that. That is why the presence of a military general as French ambassador in Yaounde is particularly of interest, not only to Yaounde, but to us as well. Don't forget that France believes that if Cameroon leaves their column, they are doomed in Africa. Because it's true that in West Africa, Macron actually has a president, who was a president of is it Burkina Faso? No, Cote d'Ivoire, Alassane Dramane Ouattara. They have Alassane Dramane Ouattara in the pockets. He's like Emmanuel Macron's errand boy. Yeah, of course, you have seen the video circulating. That shows you just how he's using Macron to get to the other people. So therefore, with the loss of the Central African Republic to Russia, with the Russians already showing a lot of interest in the things that are happening in Gabon, with the loss of Mali to Russia, with the prospects that a good lot of these other countries, including Burkina Faso and others, are wanting to leave their column, France believes that they must have a foothold in the Gulf of Guinea. And the only way for France to maintain a foothold in the Gulf of Guinea is to stay in Cameroon. And now France sees another aspect to it. Staying in Cameroon without the southern Cameroons will mean at least 60 to 65% of the GDP of the country they want to take is gone. That is why the French will want to use every ruthless means possible to try and abate the situation in the southern Cameroons. But I have bad news for France. The bad news I have for France is the determination of the people of Ambazonia is unparalleled. France already saw what could happen to them when they entered along with other parts in Afghanistan and found themselves running out like babies after 20 years without success. France also entered Vietnam, where the most powerful army in the world, the United States of America, pulled out of there too in disgrace. And today, the times are not like they were before. that the French can think that they will just get inside there and become as atrocious as possible. My dear people of Ambazonia, Ambazonia is our land. We have a mastery of our land, and we will make France to understand that they can limit their ambitions in La République du Cameroon. That doesn't concern us. But as far as Ambazonia is concerned, that one I will still call it and consider it mind games. Recall that they send special forces to our land. That was since July. Today is September. And since they send the special forces to our land, specifically in the northern zone, they have continued to eat humble pie on a daily basis. General Buba Dankrio himself is beginning to understand that whatever he did in the far north with Boko Haram has no relationship with what exactly is happening in Ambazonia. In Ambazonia, we are not a people who are getting into some other person's lands and trying to form or create a caliphate. In Ambazonia, we are defending our land. We are fighting for our freedom. We are simply wanting to make sure that a colonial administration leaves our land. And the world agrees that colonialism is a crime. The world agrees. Therefore, we are locked in a just cause to get La République du Cameroon the heck out of our land. That is why we are not blinking, and that is why we as a people should never ever blink. When I talk about special forces, look at what is happening. Everywhere they have been, they have gone out screaming and crying like terrified cops. Was it terrified cops here? I'm talking about the little ones of a lion. You know, sometimes they just sit in the forest, and because their parents are not around, they look left, right, and they feel like I'm not secure here, they will start roaring and roaring just to frighten any enemy that could be in the vicinity, to give them the impression that if you dare, I can. This is exactly what La République du Cameroon has been doing. And so when they meet our brave hearts and they give them a run for their training, what do? They turn onto the local population. They turn onto the civilian population. They turn onto the vulnerable people. And when it becomes so flagrant, they accept and call it was just some misguided soldiers who went rampant and who misbehaved. How many incidences have we counted just lately? 1, we saw what happened in Menchum. 2, we saw what happened in Gabo. 3, we saw what happened in Boya with Bebe Carol Louis. 4, we saw what happened in Bamenda with Bebe Brandy Tato. 5, we saw what happened in Bamenda when they carried out exactions in Mancon and later said it was an error. We have seen them everywhere, over and over and over. Is it now because the mayor, the CPDM mayor of Andek, could not bear it anymore that he came out and told the world that the 2 women whose lives were brutally cut in Andek, that was done by soldiers loyal to Mr. Paul Biya? And this is exactly what they have been doing. Because when they go, they meet our brave hearts, they overpower them. What they do, they turn around and vent their anger on the local populations. It's the same thing that they've been doing in Balinyonga. And therefore, my people of Ambazonia, I said it here when this release was just sent to me, that this whole nonsense of special forces is a mirage. This whole nonsense of special forces is what you call mind game. Because if La République du Cameroon had anything left in their back that they could remove to turn things around, they wouldn't have hesitated. That is why you even hear them today get right to the point of instrumentalizing our funds. The misguided one, the royal beggars among them, misguide them to the point where some come to say they are going to use voodoo, they are going to use black magic against Ambazonians. And I ask, if they had black magic that powerful, they would be in their palaces. So how are they going to do this black magic? How are they going to carry out those incantations? The bee will go to their palaces, dig out the shrines, dig out the sacred forests, and carry them to them over in La République where there are IDPs so that they should do those incantations. Absolute BS. My people of Ambazonia. All those are signs of our victory. All what we need to do is consolidate. Listen, there are still a few people, a few elements among us, both on ground zero and in the diaspora, who still don't get it. And so sometimes their actions can be counterproductive, but they are few. Therefore, the education we continue to share, both on platforms like this one and even through sensitization missions that go to people on the ground, are designed to help close that gap. And once we close that gap, we are going to make a lot of strides. So, my people, therefore, I want to continue to congratulate and doff my heart to the unity warriors of Ambazonia. That's how I like to call them. Not the unity warriors on Bui, or the Fako Meme unity warriors, or the Manyu unity warriors, or the Menchum unity warriors, or the Momo unity warriors, or the Indian unity warriors, the Kupe Wanengoba unity warriors. We will soon definitely have to all begin to call them the unity warriors of Ambazonia, because that is where this whole thing is headed. Because that is what will make us ready to confront the very important moment that lies right ahead. So while France, through their new military general, who's ambassador, will be monitoring the situation from his end, I'm congratulating our brave hearts for setting up already to monitor the situation from their end, because events in La République du Cameroon will be absolutely important. While the French have their interest to protect, of course, as a foreign nation, we have our interest to protect, that is sending out the last vestiges of La République du Cameroon's colonial administration on our land. That is a sacred duty that we must stand strong for. My people, if you are just joining in, share. We will take a little break. And when I come back from this break, we definitely are going to delve into the other very important dossiers I just talked about a while ago. So therefore, shake it out a bit, just a little bit. Yes, this is the beauty of Ambazonia. And so, my people, it has come to pass that Pope Francis, that is the Pope in Vatican, Papa for Roma, in Rome, has sent out a tweet which is saying, "I join in the appeal of the bishops of Cameroon for the liberation of 8 people kidnapped in the diocese of Manfe, including 5 priests and a religious sister. Let's pray together for them and for the peoples of Bamenda. May the Lord grant peace to that dear country." Now, look at this. This message from the Pope has come as a result of the Twitter activities of some of our Twitter warriors. When they saw Pope Francis tweeting about the situation in Ukraine, they decided to follow that thread and remind the Pope about the situation in the southern Cameroons. True that he has come in from the angle of what has happened in Manfe, the unfortunate situation in Manfe, but at least it was able to catch his attention. My people of Ambazonia, this is why I say here constantly that we are 8 million of us, we are 8 million soldiers for freedom. 8 million soldiers for freedom. The little things that you do, wherever you are, on whatever platform, in the direction of pushing this liberation movement counts. It matters. It always matters. That is why I continue to urge each and every one of us, don't underestimate the power of that single action that you will take when you have the opportunity to take it, because it will take us forward. So now I'm coming into the subject matter to talk about what happened in Chang village. My people, we have seen videos of the bishop of the area even telling the people of Nchang that the Catholic Church will never come back to Nchang because of what happened, and if the people do not right the wrong. But at the same time, that bishop was ignoring a bystander, a lady, who kept telling him, this action that you see that was taken here is not by children from this area. It's not by children from Manu. The people who did this thing came from elsewhere. She just feared for her life to tell that bishop that it is the soldiers of La République du Cameroon who carried out this act. Listen, my people. Sometimes I regret it that we say things, people listen to these things, they get into this ear and they pass out on the other one. Or we listen and we forget. Way back in 2018, I had announced that there was a certain meeting that was held at the home of Mr. Tanyi Mbianyo Clarkson, who is from Manu. He used to be Minister of Environment and Forestry at the time. The objective of that meeting that brought together the entire elite from Manu and some from other parts of the southern zone. The objective was to go out there, recruit young men, even from within the ranks of the military of La République du Cameroon, who will constantly pose as amber boys to carry out some exactions because they wanted to achieve a triple objective. Objective number one, turn the population against the movement, against their own aspirations, against their children, so that they will all become what is famously called as blacklegs and begin betraying their own very children to the enemy. That was objective number one. Objective number two, give to the world to believe the wrong impression that we are terrorists, because that is what they have been struggling, because they've tried to tag us with this name right from 2017 to this day. It has not held, and they are not giving up. That's why they continue to carry out this kind of heinous acts on institutions that are sensitive to the world. They have done that on hospitals. They have done that on schools. They are doing it on churches constantly to vehicle this kind of message. And unfortunately, some within the church fall for some of these things and send out the wrong message and the wrong signals. Like the bishop that we saw. The local people are telling you what happened, that they saw, that they witnessed. But you are insisting on some imaginary amber boys who are Catholic Christians of the same church who have come back to take down their own same church. How possible is that? How logical is that? But this is simple. We know where they are coming from. Either this priest is an accomplice of the system in Yaounde, or he's simply misguided. And so therefore, when you look at the tweet from Pope Francis, you know, Pope Francis is level-headed. He has not said, I join the appeal of the bishops of Cameroon to call on amber boys, no, to liberate. He, the Pope, knows the complexity of the situation in Ambazonia. He is not one to be misguided just like that into taking sweeping conclusions on things that don't need to be taken. Let us call the thing by its name. We all know that sometimes in 2018, and that was on November 21, 2018, the soldiers of La République du Cameroon went shooting rampantly. That was in Kembong. And what happened? They brought down this Reverend Father Cosmas Omboto Ondari. He was a Mill Hill priest from Kenya. Yes, La République du Cameroon shot him dead along with several other people firing on the church, on the Catholic Church. And during this instant, at least Bishop Nkia or Archbishop Nkia, who was Bishop of Mamfe at the time, was a more courageous person then because he came out and told the whole wide world what he saw and what he knew and told them who exactly carried out these exactions. The same Bishop Nkia at the time did a move around in the communities, in the villages, raised to ashes by La République du Cameroun. The only people in charge of the Ministry of Fire in La République, in the southern Cameroons, in Ambazonia, are Mr. Paul Bia's talks. And we have seen them at this over and over and over. They look for specific moments, for specific periods, to carry out certain actions because they think it will be easy to claim that it was Amber because they were enforcing this or enforcing that. That is how these same soldiers got into Okoyong. Yes, into the Queen of Rosaries College in Okoyong, an all-female school. I don't know if they did what we know they have been doing on our territory, on the young girls in that campus, before setting an entire dormitory on fire. And when they did, they got out and then they asked them, they caused some misguided newspapers to come out with headlines indicating that Amber boys went and raised the dormitory because they were enforcing the 11th of February ban. That's what they did. But the children in the school testified that those who carried that out were all speaking French. Of course, our boys don't speak French. They were all speaking French. That is documented. That is in Okoyong, in Manu. It's not long ago that La République du Cameroun again set fire onto the General Hospital in Mamfe and tried as much as they could to give the impression that this was done by Amber boys. Because why? You have to continue making efforts to give a dog a bad name so you can easily hang it. That is what has happened. They have continued to do it. They are not giving up. And so, therefore, the thing that happened in Chang is simply because La République du Cameroun believes that right now the church is a huge lobby. If we attack the Catholic Church persistently, we can take them to our sides and turn them against Ambazonia. That is what they have been struggling to do. Did you not hear reports lately of how these same soldiers of La République du Cameroun, who are treated at the Banso Baptist Hospital, at the BBH, free of charge, treated regularly free of charge, went inside there, took out two citizens of the southern Cameroons who were undergoing treatment, went out into the yard and shot them dead. And as if that is not enough, they have gone back there and captured hospital personnel on claims, flimsy claims, that they are treating Amber boys. This is outrageous. They do those things before our very eyes. And someone, somewhere, conveniently wants us to believe that our own boys will go into their own village and raise on their own church for whatever reason. Don't forget that because at the start of this academic year, the voices in the bushes made clear schools have to resume, but mainly in mission schools, in private schools, and in community schools. Has anyone forgotten that last academic year, the senior divisional officer from Ngokutunja, the colonial senior divisional officer from Ngokutunja, Kwetong Anderson Konge, issued serious threats on the Presbytery Secretary of the Presbyterian Church and the Education Secretary of the Catholic Church in Dub, asking them to shut down their schools and that they will not operate until the government schools begin operating. And the soldiers of La République du Cameroun were going to those schools and turning children back home. Fact. Because I have the letter that they wrote, the complaint that they wrote to their hierarchies. So this is not something that's just new. It is recurrent. And therefore, at the start of this academic year, we have seen senior divisional officers, those colonial relics, in Kumba, in Fundong, in Wum, in other places, in Kumbo, come out with prefectural orders saying they are banning all community schools. And among some of those schools, they mention Catholic mission schools, they mention Presbyterian schools, they mention Baptist mission schools. So therefore, what stops them from going out, therefore, to carry out arson on some of these places simply because they don't want them to operate? These are things that my people go out there. Go out and be a tweeter warrior. Tweet these truths to the world. Tweet these truths to the world so the world should see. This is the dormitory at Okoyong that was reduced to what you are seeing here by talks of Mr. Paul Biya. Yet, they would turn around, and try to give the impression to the world that we, as a people, are responsible for this. No. Like I pointed out a while ago, La République du Cameroon is on record for having shut out Doctors Without Borders in the southern Cameroons. That is Médecins Sans Frontières, on flimsy claims that they are treating Amber boys who are wounded. But the Geneva Convention is clear on how to handle soldiers who are wounded in an armed conflict like the one going on. No hospital institution has to be attacked because they are treating people from the opposite camp. But La République du Cameroon respects no law. They don't respect any international instrument because Emmanuel Macron and France tell them that carry out any exaction, we are in the UN Security Council, we will veto, we will make sure no sanctions are ever brought up against you. Of course, that is what it is. But for how long? For how long will they hold? Now they have exhausted the last joker of special forces. What do they have? Wagner? So my people of Ambazonia, this is the more reason we must remain very resolute. We must remain steadfast in our effort to take back our country. It is our land. We are not negotiating it with anybody. Because just as I've cited already the case of Médecins Sans Frontières, you know that there was even a Ghanaian pastor and his wife that were reduced to rubble in Batibo, still by soldiers loyal to Mr. Paul Biya. So for how long would they continue to proffer such kind of lousy claims on the people of Ambazonia? My dear people, these are very, very, very serious times, and therefore we must continue to stay awake. I'll take a little break of 30 seconds, and when I come back, we'll talk Swiss. So it is no longer a secret to anyone that the Swiss-led initiative, some call it process, has crashed. And that since it's crashing, a lot of ink has flown, a lot of things have happened. We've had a lot of, arguments and counter-arguments here and there, but one thing is certain. The one thing that is certain is that we are back to where we were in June 2019 before some of our comrades signed on to what they believed at the time was a true and honest process that involved the agreement of La République du Cameroon to sit around a negotiation table. But my people of Ambazonia, La République du Cameroon was always involved in a ruse, as we have said before. No point going back to all of those things because we have discussed them exhaustively. What is most important today is where do we go to from here? Like I said, we're back to where we were in June of 2019, where we had worked so hard to get the international community begin to pay attention to what was happening in the southern Cameroons, where the regime of sanctions was already being unleashed. Recall, it was around that time that Cameroon was suspended from AGOA. Recall? Yes, that Cameroon was suspended from African Growth and Opportunity Act signed by the government of the United States of America. Recall that it was so around that time that the United States of America cut down its assistance, its financial assistance to the government of Cameroon by several millions of dollars. It was at that same time that the government of the United States of Cameroon sent out a fact-finding, or should I say, sent out a team to make sure that La République du Cameroon was not using any of the resources they were sharing with them in partnership, meant to fight against Boko Haram in the far north, that they were not using any of that in the southern Cameroons, in Ambazonia. It was at that time. So today we are here right now. You have seen already on Twitter, some actors are saying, okay, since this thing has ended and there's nothing going on, let the sanctions begin to reign again. But my people, where do we go to from here? What is the way forward from here? The way forward lies in our ability as a people to recognize that the only time Cameroon will come to the table is when they themselves, Cameroon themselves, start looking for mediation opportunities around the world. Because some called me insulted, threatened. Now that you have worked so hard to cancel or to destroy the Swiss initiative, bring your own mediators, bring your own people, bring your own process. Listen, it is not incumbent on Ambazonians to bring a process. We are the underdogs in this. And the underdogs are never the ones who go out there, start calling for, oh, come and mediate, come and mediate. When you do that, of course, that we did in 2019, the oppressor sees that as a sign of fatigue. The oppressor sees that as a clear indication that if they put more pressure, you will soon capitulate. And that is why Mr. Paul Biya's response was to create a DDR and create DDR centers and said, just surrender into these centers. That is the thought. Because in international relations, these things are clear. It's not something that I'm inventing. Once you, the underdog, becomes the one who start running and say, oh, let's look for somebody to come and do peace. Let's do this. And they believe that, one, you are suffering from fatigue. Number two, you are running out of resources. And number three, you are losing support. That is why you want to jump onto a table and see if you can grab at least some little thing before going out with. And for an astute, an autocratic system like the one in Cameroon, they will tell you, surrender. That's where we were. And so therefore, my people, the only way forward now, do the needful. Let us bunch together. Strengthen our positions as it's happening. Strengthen those who are giving La République du Cameroon nose bleeding. Get to the point where Mr. Paul Biya's talk start getting to the field and fraternizing and dropping their sticks and asking for the boys to show them roads, to show them channels to escape. At that time, La République du Cameroon will start looking for a mediator. At that time, La République du Cameroon will become serious about peace talks. At that time, La République du Cameroon will be ready to sit around a table. That is what in international relations will be called a mutual hurting stalemate. By the time we get to that stalemate, where both parties have got to a point where we all on both sides recognize that it cannot be done militarily, that is when the hegemon involved, in this case, La République du Cameroon, will start calling other world parties to say, please, can you talk to these children? if we can sit down and have a discussion. That is where we have to get to. That is what we have to do. I went to Boston in 2019. That was within the framework of a conference that was called by the Boston Consortium. And when I sat through that meeting, I told them, if we don't get to that point where La République du Cameroon begins having regular nose bleeding daily, there is nothing that's going to happen. So therefore, the time now is for us to mobilize resources more than ever before. The Swiss distraction is over. So we can now focus on giving La République du Cameroon a run for its money, a run for their training, and a run for their energy. To the point where Yaounde starts saying, please, we need to talk. And the rest of the world is even generally clear that Mr. Paul Biya, whether he called it Grand National Dialogue or whatsoever, has no place, no meaning. And that's why you hear Yaounde say they're even already planning for another dialogue. That's why you hear Yaounde start saying, oh, if you decide to just come home and surrender, take my olive branch, I will, cooperate with you. That's why I saw something signed by the High Commission of La République du Cameroon in South Africa in this kind of light. Don't be fooled, my people. Don't be fooled. Never, ever accept an olive branch from La République du Cameroon and jump into a thing thinking that you are dealing with people who have good faith. They never have good faith. Because when you jump in, they'll tell you, start telling us the secrets of everything that you know about those people when you were with them. If you don't say it, you are finished. You will say it and compare. At the end of the day, you are still finished. That is who La République du Cameroon is. If you know this, you know where to stand. That is why, harping on that, Ambassador Tibor Nagy sent out this tweet. He said, for the Southern Cameroonian Ambazonian diaspora to have an impact on the struggle, it needs unity. Otherwise, the various governments, he said, the various governments will continue as a secular firing squad. Surely they can agree on the outcome everyone wants, peace and justice. So therefore, even at the global level, they recognize that we have what it takes to force La République du Cameroon to begin asking for negotiations. It is not by singing it on social media or you meet us in Swiss. It's not by singing on social media or don't play, you meet us in Geneva. It's not by singing on social media, Swiss. That's what I told people before. Sing Swiss on social media, sing it on your platforms 1 million times as you care. That wouldn't take La République du Cameroon there. The only thing that would take La République du Cameroon there is when they get to a point where, number one, they can no longer finance their war. Number two, they no longer have human resources to send into Ambazonia. Number three, when even their colonial administrators start running out of certain localities because they no longer have the talks enough to protect them to stay there. That is when La République du Cameroon will start looking for mediation opportunities. And when they begin doing, we will end up with a real mediation opportunity, not a mirage. And if you doubt it, for the first time, the Secretary General of the United Nations, after a session he had yesterday with the Minister of External Relations of Cameroon, sent out a statement. He said, read out the Secretary General's meeting with His Excellency Minister Lejeune Belambela, that the Secretary General of the United Nations simply asked La République du Cameroon and all the parties involved to sit down for dialogue, to sit down and talk. That is a total rebuke of La République du Cameroon stands that we already held dialogue. So that is even their closest ally, their main friend, Antonio Guterres, recognizing right now, because the Swiss distraction has left. So the whole world now is beginning to look at things again differently. My people, let me say this. Don't be fooled by the notion that, oh, there are so many conflicts around the world, so we need to jump onto any opportunity that we need to do that, because if we don't, they'll forget about us. We are in the Gulf of Guinea. After all the confusion, the trouble, the everything that's taking place in the Persian Gulf, like the Middle East, the future, the energy future of the world is in the Gulf of Guinea. And we are in the heart of the Gulf of Guinea. This is the more reason, my people, that the world's attention will never disappear as much as they think it will disappear. It's true, we have to work very hard to get them come onto this and remain focused on it. Cameroon now has been highlighted as one as one of the countries in the world where terrorism activities are at the peak. La République du Cameroon will want to interpret this by claiming that that part of that terrorism is happening in the southern Cameroon. It is not. That's why they do the things that they are doing and all whatnot on the church, on schools, on hospital institutions, those sensitive institutions, and try to fool the world that we are responsible for this just because they know that the situation is becoming very dire to them. Paul Biya is ailing by the day, and they know that anything can happen. Frank Biya is bent on becoming president. Ngongo too wants to be president. Louis Paul Motaze and his gang, they too want to be president. But the Northerners are telling them, Ngaya, it will not happen. So what is happening, therefore, is faced with all of this, La République du Cameroon is ready to play any kind of thing to outdo us. But our resilience is what will keep us going. The boys want to unite. You are in the diaspora. All you need to do is encourage this unity. Because what is happening now that makes you see tweets like this ones come out here is because rather than trying to help the voices in the bushes in their initiative to bond together so that they will be stronger against the enemy. In the diaspora, what are we doing? We are rather struggling to see how this unit is loyal to me. That unit is loyal to me. They are my boys. This one, they are for me. This one, something happens, they even steal things that are done by others to claim it was done by us and all not. Because we are looking at other calculations. Calculate how I need to use those one and do things and let the funds keep coming. Let the fundraising keep going. We are oblivious of the danger that is before us if we were ever to lose this particular liberation struggle. It is ours to lose. Therefore, we have to solidify this boys. If you are contributing money to a group that's doing everything to divide these boys on the ground, stop. Start sending it straight to the ground. That is where the action is. They need those resources, not the groups based abroad. The groups based abroad to want to gather these resources and coordinate. Fine. If it's just about coordinating to make sure that those who need these resources get it, I have no problem with that. But if it's because we have to raise this money and cut a section and say these are loyal to me because I need them to remain relevant, you are cursed. So my people, let us think. Think always seriously and stay focused. Stay alert. Stay at alert. Stay focused. And let us continue to give the support where the support is due to make sure that we attain our objective. That is the only way we win. And we, my people, we will win. To God and to Him alone be all the glory.